Hello and welcome everybody to draft number 13 in our July series drafts. We're going to be continuing on our path, trying to get out of this slump that we're stuck in for the moment. What are we looking for? So, as usual, we're going to be looking for, Eldrazi because it's just the best deck. Black tends to stay open late, so we find ourselves there a little more often than we wish we did, largely on the back of it just being as open as it tends to be. So, let's see what we find out of this pack. Here we go. Okay, not the most exciting pack in the world. I think Horrific Assault is probably my top choice here. Noid Altasaur is good. Johnny Fells the Godsire is fine. Windswept Heath is good, but not something I want to pack one, pick one. There's if unlike something like a cube, the fetch lands don't have fetchable duels. So if you wind up not playing green white, then the fetch land isn't worthwhile. As opposed to in like a cube draft where you can grab a fetch land first pick because it can allow you to splash or find dual lands later on. I love fetch lands in the format, but just you can't first pick them, unlike in a cube where you reasonably can. Anyway, here I think Horrific Assault, cheapest card, very powerful, goes well in the deck that we would like to get ourselves into. We've got Pack 2 is Kozilek's Command, Bridgeworks Battle, and Basking Broodscale, I would say. I'm a big fan of Kozilek's Command. I've drafted this card several times. It's just a very, very good card. Eldrazi Repurposer here is pretty fantastic. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, Repurposer is just very good. We are passing, like, there's a bunch of good white cards here, right? Like, a Johnny Fells the Godsire, Metastatic Evangel, and Proud Pack Rhino is kind of showing that the person passing to us is not in white, and that we maybe should be considering that as an option. Okay, so Hope Ender Coatl, Unfathomable Truths. There's a Fell the Profane. Yeah. Okay. Hope Ender Coatl so that we can try to stay on the Eldrazi plan. Another Repurposer is great. We probably need to pick up some like 2-drops at some point, and there's a Basking Broodscale there. There's also a Stump Stomp. I think we just want the Broodscale. We just need 2-drops. Like we have none so far, and we're going to need them in order to get to a late game if we wind up with the Eldrazi. Nothing really here for us. Like Foul Strike is semi-playable. Sundering Eruption. I think Sundering Eruption is the better pick here. Honestly, like we're not in red yet, but the Eldrazi deck does tend to span over the Temur colors. And Foul Strike is not particularly exciting. I think, just grab the Sundering Eruption. If we don't play it, we don't play it. And if we do wind up with the red cards, we have a modal dual-faced land, which is great. The Oozewag is fine. The landscape is okay. I'm not particularly excited about either. This pack has nothing we want. Perfect. Grab a landscape. Yeah, more nothing, huh? This is the tail end of this pack is a little disappointing. Okay. Bogart Trawler is certainly a playable card. I don't think that's ultimately what we want to be doing, but not with the start that we have at least. But then again, the whole latter half of that pack was nothing. So yeah, we need to open something decent in pack 2 and figure out what lane we need to be in. Um, okay, Soren's cool, Amptraptor is great. Path of Annihilation is what we want though. We would like to try to find some more top end after we take this path, I think. Right now we have the Kozilek's Command, we have Skoa, both are fine. There's a Party Crasher up there, or a Party Thrasher, excuse me, and a Reckless Pyro Surfer. I think we just want the Party Thrasher. It's just like 2 mana is card advantage. Kind of. Yeah, kind of good. Disciple of Freyles. There's a Landscape, Void Pouncer, and Watchdog. I think it's just the Disciple. Modal dual-faced card that's on color. Grab the Disciple, continue on with our lives. Here's another repurposer. This will make the third one, I think. Drownyard Worker's fine. Landscape is fine. There is Unfathomable Truths as well, if we wanted the Green Splash and the Skittering Precursor. It's possible that we wanted the Precursor over the third Repurposer, but the Repurposer is just so good. So many bodies just for one card, and a 3-mana card at that. Excuse me. Meteoric Mace almost, I guess, counts as top end, but I'm not a fan of this card. 6 to cast and 4 to equip, and you're banking on that Cascade to hit something that's worthwhile. I don't think the Mace is good at all. But, if you have a lot of mana sitting around, being able to turn your spawn tokens into 4/1s with trample, certainly not the worst. It that heralds the end is a nice pickup here. Makes our spawn tokens that much harder to deal with, and makes all of our repurposers 4/4, like 3-mana 4/4s, Brood Scale 2-mana 4/4. Glad to pick up the It that heralds. Worn Power Stone is fine. We do, again, still need some more top end, but making sure that we can bridge through the mid game. We also haven't picked up any Dryads or Priest of Titanias or any kind of Mana Dorks yet. Arena of Glory is fine. Colossal Dreadmask Wheeling is good. We're glad to have one of those in our deck. Colossal Dreadmask fills the role that Meteoric Mace wishes it did, I think. Infernal Captor's fine. We're probably not going to play 2 of them, if any of them. But I do kind of dig Infernal Captor in the decks with the spawn tokens that they can happily sacrifice. Okay, so we have Eldrazi Linebreaker, which is a very powerful card. Being able to give +3/+0 and haste to every creature that comes into play, or even +1/+0. But in this deck, more likely plus a few at least. Versus the Nightshade Dryad, which is a card that we are kind of desperately looking at since our curve really jumps in on 4. But yeah, I think the Linebreaker is enough more powerful that we want it. There's a Kozilek. So we're for sure cutting this Meteoric Mace. Give me this Kozilek, and suddenly we have the top end that we're looking for. So now we need, we would love to see another Dryad, although it's unlikely. We're certainly not going to wheel the one from earlier, but, if we get a little lucky, there could be one in the next pack or two. There's a Snapping Voidcraw. And, yeah, the Glimpse the Impossible, I think, are the 2 real considerations here. None of our landscapes find blue mana, so, yeah, I think grabbing the Glimpse so that... Oh, there's a Dryad down there. Grabbing the Glimpse so that we can power out this Kozilek. We can just play this Glimpse on turn 3 and just get, +3 mana, basically. Use it as a delayed ritual. As much as I like Propagator Drone, I think this is the kind of deck that really just wants the Nightshade Dryad. Okay, well, we took the Propagator Drone. I think that might be a mistake. I think the Dryad is just so important to what we're trying to do. But so another on-color landscape or another Glimpse the Impossible or a Warp Tusker. I don't think we need the Warp Tusker. Yeah, I think it's either the landscape or the Glimpse. There's a Writhing Chrysalis. So pack 3, pick 6, there's a Writhing Chrysalis. So I guess we're in the right place. Seems hard to believe, but all right. All right, it that heralds the end over a Pyro Surfer, just making the Kozilek cost less, making all of the tokens that much bigger and harder to deal with. Bountiful Landscape or Warp Tusker here. I think just having the landscape is probably better. We want to make sure that we have the colorless sources since we have Kozilek's command. Yeah, another landscape over basically nothing. Here's a Foul Strike, I guess. We're not looking to play the Foul Strike, but we're obviously not going to play a Pearl Medallion either. Here's another bunch of nothing. We already cut an Infernal Captor. Second mace. We're probably going to cut the first mace. But, alright. So this turned out not too bad. I think that we should have a Dryad over a Propagator Drone. That's a very late Snapping Voidcraw. We have at least one Bountiful Landscape to be able to find an island, though I'm not convinced that's enough. Yeah, so if we look at what Draftsmith wants to do, it's basically what I was saying. Cut the Meteoric Maces, don't splash the blue for the Snapping Voidcraw, and otherwise we had already built the deck. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 16 lands plus 1, 2 modal dual-faced cards plus Path of Annihilation plus Worn Power Stone plus spawn tokens. Alright, we go up a red source. Makes sense to me, since we have the double red with the Skoas. We still have 11 green sources with our configuration like this. Yeah, this looks like some of the easier deck building we've had to do. We more or less had it mapped out from the draft. We still have one Infernal Captor in the deck, again, just because being able to sacrifice a spawn token to be able to get an active treason effect can be pretty powerful. It can end the game in certain cases. Nope, back to the original lineup of mana. Okay. Alright, here we go. So, jumping into round number 1. Let's see what we can do with this deck. We have all of our colors. We can cast the It That Heralds the End off the landscape and then pop the landscape to make sure we have red mana if we don't draw it. So this seems okay. Yeah. Hand is certainly a keep. It's not the most exciting. We do need to find something bigger to do later, but the Glimpse can potentially help with that as well. Okay, more green sources. Not exactly what we're looking for. It does mean that we get to hold on to the Disciple of Freyalise as a spell rather than a land if we keep drawing all these lands. So the question here is, if we draw the red source, do we just slam the Glimpse the Impossible? Do we just play it and get all of the bodies? I'm not sure. Foul Strike. Probably just going to sit in our hand for a while. Unstable Amulet. Alright, so opponent going to be digging for some cards, but no real pressure to speak of right away. Which is fine. Another landscape. So the easy part is we attack for 1, or attack for 2. And then I think pass and crack one of the landscapes to find a red source. I don't think we want to crack both landscapes. We do have like Kozilek's Command, Eldrazi Winebreaker, a couple, and another It That Heralds the End in the deck, so I don't think we want to lose all of our colorless mana. So probably just pop the Twisted Landscape for a mountain, and that's it. What do we got, opponent? They haven't activated the amulet yet. Okay, Proud Pack Rhino, so a shield counter. I have to assume a shield counter over one single energy. But, yeah, okay. 3/3 with the shield counter. You got it. Excuse me. Alright. So, go and find that mountain. And then, yeah, I think we just leave it at that. Yeah. Okay. Another colorless source, which is neither good nor bad. We really need to draw some action here. That said, because we're flooding out a little bit, holding on to this Glimpse so that we can potentially cast the cards that we find off of it makes an amount of sense. But we're not accelerating, we're not getting more pressure into, like, we're not getting more bodies into play. This Glimpse is not looking spectacular right now. We can't cast it for card advantage, and we don't have anything to be ramping into, at least in hand. Jeskai opponent just kind of vibing. They have their mana set up. They still haven't activated the amulet, which is a little weird to me. I would have assumed that they wanted to draw a card at some point, but taking their sweet time. Attack for 3. Come on, opponent, click the buttons. Attacking for 3 when you have the biggest creature and as a shield counter seems like we should just be clicking buttons. More lands. So, have we drawn a spell this game? We haven't, right? It's just lands so far. We kept... Yeah, we kept 4 spells and 3 lands, one of the spells being the Disciple, and that's just what we still have. Yeah, my thing's dead. You got it. Yeah, great. I don't even want to play... I'd rather just get 3 spawns, I think. Just play a land out of hand. Yeah, okay. If I can't cast any of these cards, then at least, like, my hand is already all lands, so yeah, I like getting 3 spawns here. This puts me, like, now if I rip Kozilek off the top, I can cast it this turn. So, yeah, obviously we have Writhing Chrysalis or Path of Annihilation as very, very powerful top decks. But none are going to be more powerful than the Kozilek off the top, since we have the mana to cast it right now. Again, opponent still hasn't activated that Quicksilver Amulet, or Unstable Amulet, excuse me. It's very interesting. Stupid dragon keeps throwing lightning bolts at me. Okay. I guess at least it's not a land. It also means that we can crack both of these landscapes because the Worn Power Stone represents our double colorless. So if we want to try to thin out our deck to stop drawing lands, we have that option. Though if our opponent blows up our Worn Power Stone, then we're just kind of sitting here doing nothing. And can't cast our cards if we top deck them, so. Kozilek's Command and Eldrazi Winebreaker are the only things in the deck that really require us to have colorless mana. And it that heralds the end left, yeah. So 4 cards total in the deck, 3 that are left in the deck, since we already used one of the it that heralds. It got murdered. So other than the obvious, the Kozilek, what's our best draw here? The command would be nice. Exile the Proud Pack Rhino so that we don't have to worry about the shield counter anymore, and then scry a bunch probably. Get any and all mana out of the way so that we can use our cards. Find cards to use. Yeah, just Proud Pack Rhino chunking on in. I would very much like to draw any action. Just anything at all. Land it is. You got it, man. Okay. Yeah, this is one of those games that you just like, it's going to frustrate you every time it happens. And there is nothing that you realistically can do differently. I don't think the hand was a mulligan. We had It That Heralds the End, Glimpse the Unthinkable, Disciple of Freyles, and lands, and then the Foul Strike just hanging out. There's a big dumb whale. Great. Yeah, I don't know. We have not drawn a spell outside of, like, we drew the Worn Power Stone. But we have not drawn an action spell the entirety of the game. So these are just the games that you're going to sit here, and it's even more frustrating because our opponent is roping like every time they get priority. So we're just stuck sitting here waiting for our opponent to kill us. And we know that we have outs, we know that we have cards that we can use, and just sitting here waiting to die and not drawing them is awful. You can see how frustrated I was getting just flicking my mouse across the cards over and over and over again. Okay. That qualifies as a piece of action. It's going to let us turn any more lands we draw into real cards. It lets us turn the Foul Strike into real cards. Okay, that's it. No land for turn. We have this 1/4 that can block the Proud Pack Rhino now. Um, Weirdly enough, the thing that would scare us is if they like wing wing it on the Dreamtide Whale, and then we actually accidentally have it covered because we have this Foul Strike just hanging out. Otherwise, we have 3 chump blockers for the Dreamtide Whale until the Party Thrasher finds this action. So, more time, more rope. Less Party Thrasher. More Sag. Okay. Maybe I'm crazy. Like, if I'm in my opponent's seat, a lot of these decisions feel real easy. I don't know. I certainly don't know what's in their hand. I also know that they have 2 unspent energy and an unstable amulet that they played on turn 2 and never used to draw an extra card. And that's a little mind-blowing to me. Come on, opponent. Make a decision, please. Jolted Awake, no targets. Jolted Awake, no targets, just to get energy and proliferate. Sure. Is this what opponent's hand is? Just like a bunch of reactive cards, and because we've never drawn any action, their cards just don't do anything? Alright. Sure. Now are you going to use the amulet now that you have 5 energy? No. More rope. Alright. Goodbye, one more landscape. We're down to 5 lands left in the deck. Okay. Sko is not the best draw. It's not the worst draw. It lets me pop a shield counter, I guess. Sure. We have a 4/4 that can block, that can check the 3/3 now. The 7/5 is still covered by the spawn tokens for the next 2 turns. We still have the Foul Strike if the whale winds up getting flying somehow. And next turn we can potentially disciple away the Skoa to gain some life and draw some cards. We lose the ability to have the Proud Pack Rhino covered, but like I think that's okay. Five energy. 7, 8, 8 energy? 8 energy. Still no amulet activation. Static Prison covering the Skoa. Yeah, so it seems that our opponent just had a ton of reactive cards in hand. The Jolted Awake maybe to rebuy something, Static Prison as a removal spell, Expel as a removal spell, and we've just never presented threats this game. So, seems like they've just been waiting for us to do something so that they could do anything. The fact that they're still not using their energy on the amulet kind of trips me out. I don't understand this, especially when they know they want to be casting 2 spells a turn. Like, what if the amulet had just hit any creature so that they didn't have to waste their Jolted Awake? Right? Like, sure. We're dead. You did it. So yeah, we drew a Skoa that game eventually. That's it. That's the only it's the only real spell that we drew. Very exciting game one. Took forever. Opponent roped a lot, and we drew absolute garbage the whole game. So good times. Moving on to game number two. Hopefully this one is better. We have our colors. We have Path of Annihilation that ramps us into Skoa. We are doing nothing for the first handful of turns unless we draw a 2-drop. All right. Still need another colorless source to be able to cast that, but the Path of Annihilation kind of covers that. Vampire's fine. Okay, perfect. 3-drop on turn 3. Couple bodies. The Menace doesn't matter. We'll gladly trade our Repurposer for that Vampire. You got it. Yes. Yes. Double block. No double block? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine a world where we're not blocking there, right? Like, congratulations, you have Menace. Do you want to trade with my 3/3 or my Mana Dork, I guess? Yeah. They gain some life. We get an extra spawn token. We now have double colorless for the K command, which is great. Here's a path. Yeah, so like on turn 4 now we could cast this Skoa. We don't want to. Like that's not what we're doing here. But the fact that on turn 4 we can just go Path of Annihilation into Skoa because of the way Path works is fantastic. That's sad. That's sad. I wanted that. I wanted that Path of Annihilation. I guess do we glimpse here? I don't even know. Yeah, I guess so. Alright. We hit a land. It's also a second colorless source that's permanent. We can sacrifice one spawn to replace it and get a 3/3. And this Sundering Eruption kinda doesn't matter, so... yeah, this works. Alright, so Glimpse the Impossible was draw 2, make us spawn. Opponent is casting our Path of Annihilation. We don't really have a way to get rid of that, right? I don't think we we might have the Escalate card to get rid of artifacts or enchantments. I don't recall. But I don't think we can kill an opposing Path of Annihilation. I'm not convinced that like our opponent can take full advantage of Path of Annihilation, but okay. We maybe should have adapted right then and there before our opponent untapped, since they didn't have any colored mana up. Okay, well, fair enough. Sure. So we adapt the Brood Scale. We have the Kozilek's command to cover whatever they spend mana to adapt on, I guess. And the Horrific Assault kind of to do the same. Yeah, right. Second red so that we have the Skoa. Never mind, yeah. Okay, so there's the resistance that can kill the path if we want it to. I'm not particularly worried about the path at the moment, but... alright, so here's Skoa to kill the Gargantua. I was going to say, we might want to leave a green up so that we can also shoot down the Hydra. Hydra Trainer, excuse me. So Skoa, Pew Pew here. Horrific Assault, Pew Pew here. We certainly control an Eldrazi, so we get some life. And then in for 6. Sure. We still have a lot of mana and this Kozilek's command in hand so that we can cover almost anything our opponent does here. We can command for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Unless they're using all of the rest of their mana here, I think it's maybe correct to bestow the unicorn, even onto a spawn. Okay. Never mind. That's fine. Yeah. So here we get to attack with our stuff. It's very likely that our opponent blocks, and we get to resistance targeting the Nyxborn Hydra, and then the 2/2 is what's blocking, and that's it. So we just kind of get to win this combat. Collective Resistance gets to be a combat trick of sorts. And our opponent still hasn't given us a reason to be afraid of the fact that they have our Path of Annihilation, so... Yep, in. They probably blocked the Skoa, I guess. Yep. And then... I guess I could give my stuff, but I don't need to. Pretty sure it's just destroy the enchantment. This might be like the first time I'm casting this card, and I forget how this card works. Yeah, so... unfortunately... Like, I'm not doing anything with my mana, to be perfectly fair, so this doesn't super matter, but I forgot. Like, it showed me modes, so I thought I could pick modes, and I didn't think about escalate, i.e. paying extra mana. But I don't think it really matters. Like, yeah, our opponent just doesn't have good blocks. They're just kind of on the back foot here, so we'll take the W there. Our deck didn't do anything particularly special there. We just kind of beat down with some medium-sized creatures, but we got to interact and we actually drew spells that game, so we weren't just sitting around doing nothing for forever. This is a 2-lander with no colorless. Yeah. This is 3 lands, I guess. What do we put back? The Dread Mask? The Linebreaker, sure. That makes sense, actually. The Linebreaker, we're 2 different mana sources away from casting that Linebreaker. Like, we need a red source and a colorless source. Though this hand still kind of sucks, if we're being completely honest. Do we just, on turn 1, find the red source here? Yeah. There are upsides and downsides to this. If we draw, like, It That Heralds the End back-to-back or something, then obviously finding the red source was bad, but... making sure we have the red source to cast other cards in our deck and the 1 red card that we already have in hand. It's fine. Slow Boros Start. This is kind of nice, just being able to pop the Unicorn as an enchantment. Just a green kill spell. We have a green go for the throat, basically. Thriving Skyclaw, yeah. Alright. Yep. Skyclaw resolves. Can't stop that. We do get to follow it up with a Writhing Chrysalis from our side, though, which checks it quite nicely. And now we're very close to the Kozilek as well, right? 4, 5, 6, 7. The Repurposer gets us up to 8 mana, basically. So we're a land away from being able to cast this Kozilek. Opponent seemingly wanting us to try to pump our Chrysalis and block there. Because we have the Kozilek in hand and we're only one more mana source off the top away from being able to cast it. I think it's correct to just take the damage that turn. Though, depending on what we draw, we maybe should pump the Chrysalis and get some blocks in. Okay, Jolted Awake is fine. They can cast it, get back their Nyxborn. We take one. Obviously, they can also just get the energy off of it and not bother getting the creature back if they just want another card off the amulet. Sure. Alright, one more body in play. There's another mana source. So, yeah, I think we want to go repurpose her here. And now next turn we have 9 mana, so I don't think we want to be trying to block. Yeah, so if we're not trying to block, then we might as well be trying to attack. It maybe gives up the game that we're trying to hold on to these spawns as mana sources, but I think that's probably okay. If they attack with both, we block with the repurposer. Not attacking with both, we take 4. And then okay. That's fine. We at least gain a little bit of life. So here we go. We get to go. Okay. We get to go land and cast the Kozilek. I think we just target them. And yeah, we're making a mistake here. By casting the Kozilek and just hitting autopay, it puts all the triggers on the stack for the Writhing Chrysalis instead of sacrificing them one at a time. Our opponent can now have something that deals 3 damage to kill the Writhing Chrysalis. So this is a mistake. We are targeting ourselves. That's a little interesting. We have Horrific Assault plus Dread Mask, but yeah, so there's the discharge. So they get to clear our Chrysalis because we cast the Kozilek instead of individually sacrificing the spawn and then casting the Kozilek. So that's definitely a our bad kind of a thing. We should not have lost our Writhing Chrysalis there. And we were kind of banking on that to be able to block the Thriving Skyclaw. Yeah, we do get 4 cards. I'm not sure we should have thrown away the Horrific Assault. And if we can't throw away the Horrific Assault, then we shouldn't target ourselves. But if we're targeting our opponent, we kind of need to put the extra bodies in place. Our opponent can't be attacking us. So I'm not sure. That one was a little closer than I wish it was. But we basically got to Mind Rot our opponent and draw 4. So Foul Strike is real good. That's a real good top deck. So it makes up for the Horrific Assault being gone. And now we have an out to the Skyclaw again. Yeah, so here's a whole bunch of power. Figure it out. Chump, chump, take 6. You got it. Oh, okay. So their plan here is to try to deal 8. Sure. I could have just shot down the Skyclaw too, right? Or is that card a sorcery and I'm crazy? Either way, we got to blow out the Thraben Charm and kill them. Or kill their creature, so. But yeah, they had 4 creatures, so Thraben Charm tried to deal 8 to the Kozilek while blocking with a 2/2, and suddenly they have very, like, very cleanly answered the Kozilek. So 6. They can get in for 7 in the air. Sure. Block, block, take 17. All right. I guess if that's what they had, but here's a lot of damage. Yep. Crunch. Okay. Alright, their last face down card was a Spawn Gang Commander. Turning it face up doesn't do anything. Yeah, they don't get the spawns because it's a cast trigger. So, real glad that we got that card out of their hand, I guess. Alright, so Kozilek got to come down and do his job, and yippee, we have a second win. Alright, moving on to our next opponent. I like this deck when we draw lands and spells. This deck feels way better. We have no red source again. We have the colorless source so that we can cast the It That Heralds the End. If we draw a red source, then we have the Line Breaker lined up, which is real nice. Okay, that's not a red source, so here we go. If we don't draw the red source, then we're kind of stuck trying to build up to this Dread Mask, because we don't really have anything to do in the meantime either. And that feels kind of bad, but... Alright, there's at least something to do in the meantime. Notably, the landscape that we do have is just green in this deck. We're playing several landscapes that are only one color because we have some colorless requirements. But yeah, in moments like this, it does make our life difficult to not have the red source anywhere in sight. I think we attack first, right? If they want to block, we'll make a spawn and trade. If they... Okay, never mind. Forget that, I guess. Land. We're not. Okay. And we're not playing the Disciple as a land. Okay, I'm not sure I understand why we made that decision. I suppose sacrificing the Repurposer to draw 3, gain 3 gets us closer to the red source, but we're still 2 mana away from that, and a green source at that. There's a red source. Okay, red source, Eldrazi Linebreaker with our board looking like this is pretty exciting. The fact that we managed to get this in play means that if we can Linebreaker onto a creature and then use Disciple of Freyles, like if we could cast the Disciple this turn, that's 7 cards because of the Linebreaker, and that's very, very funny. Yeah. So the Death Touch creature is going to block, trade, we get a spawn token out of the deal at least. So this is all okay so far. We need a green source to be able to cast the Disciple, but we can cast a Dread Mask either way. We can also get the Party Thrasher down if we want to. We've got some options now. If the Linebreaker lives, then yeah, being able to couple it with the Disciple of Freyles is pretty exciting. Two top. That's scary. Not sure if that's a red splash or just a blue card that is a modal dual-faced card. Horrific Assault, not bad. We can get in a nice chunk of damage with a Horrific Assault. Alright, Party Thrasher down. Horrific Assault. No? Alright. Okay. Yep. That's a very large, hasty boy. Good job, Linebreaker. Okay. If we're chumping, why wouldn't we chump the 6? I don't understand what's happening. Okay, so there goes my Linebreaker. I don't have a choice. A little weird that opponent chose to do that or after we had gone to combat. Unfortunately, my line that I mentioned with the Disciple of Freyles is off the table now. But I guess pretty glad that we got to go to combat with the 6-power Party Thrasher. Like, opponent could have flared pre-combat, and that would have cost us 9 power total. Wither and Bloom on our adapt creature that already adapted is fine. Chthonian Nightmare is less fine. So, double Sneaky Snacker getting to try to loop around. Yeah, they get to get back in a Cursed Marauder here. Sacrifice a Snacker, get back in a Cursed Marauder. Which clears my Party Thrasher, and now I'm left with no power in play. That said, we'll be able to get this Dread Mask down here, or a Writhing Chrysalis. Yeah. The problem with the Writhing Chrysalis, again, it's the same thing. They can just keep looping that Accursed Marauder, so... Okay. Yes. Do the thing. Alright. So we're clearing the Serum Visionary to attempt to prevent our... If our opponent doesn't have a creature in hand, or a way to draw 2, sure. Petrifying Meddler is fine. Annoying, but fine. Okay. Path of Annihilation lets us cast Path and Colossal Dreadmask both this turn without sacrificing any of our things. So even though it's very likely that the Accursed Marauder can take out our Writhing Chrysalis, the ability of this Dreadmask to bounce around on spawn tokens now. Like, if our opponent can't kill the mask itself, then I like our odds of being able to just keep moving the mask from creature to creature to creature and killing them with this 6-power Trampler. Chthonian Nightmare is very, very good, very, very powerful, but it's going to have some difficulty trying to grind through the Dread Mask that can just keep on moving around, and I have plenty of bodies to put it on. Yep, here's the Marauder that clears the Chrysalis again. As good as this does cost them a creature every time, so until they find a way to draw 2 extra cards to get back all the Sneaky Snackers, I feel pretty good here. Alright. I think Yep, I was going to say, I think it's worth it to just move the mask over. We lose our germ token, but I don't think that matters. Okay. I don't think we have anything worth getting, do we? We have the Writhing Chrysalis in our graveyard, but that's it. Opponent has a Cursed Marauder that doesn't do anything. Sure, you can have a Line Breaker. No way they adapt right now, right? Yeah. No, they want to get the Nightmare down, and then they can sacrifice the creature from the Emperor of Bones. Deem inferior on the mask. Okay. That is, in fact, a way to deal with the mask temporarily. Okay. Well, Glimpse finds us our mask back. We Foul Strike doesn't do anything, right? We can't reinforce because reinforce is a discard ability. And there's no flyers, so there's nothing to target. So yeah, we're just kind of... This Foul Strike is going to turn into another token, which is fine. I think we're trying to figure out if we want to attack this turn, and I think we do, yeah. So we can also play our land for turn. Okay, well, this is fine. Here's this attack. We could have played our land for turn and saved one of our tokens, I think, unless I'm mistaken. Maybe no, we played a land off the glimpse. Never mind. All right, opponent is choosing to chomp. It looks like. Petrifying Meddler, notably a cast trigger, so Chthonian Nightmare getting it back does not trigger it to lock anything down. Realizing all of a sudden that the reason the Bountiful Landscape was highlighted in my hand is because the Path of Annihilation gives me the colored mana to be able to cycle the landscape. That's why it was highlighted. We're at 14. Seems unlikely we die from this position. Like, sure. Line Breaker's targeting itself, so my opponent can attack for 8 this turn. We can just block the Emperor, I suppose, if we want to. They get to Chthonian Nightmare and then sacrifice the Line Breaker to rebuy something. They have the Wither and Bloom as well to trigger the Emperor again. Okay, so we'll just take 4 here. No attacks with the Emperor. They have the Wither and Bloom to trigger the Emperor to put the Chrysalis into play, which is another thing they can sacrifice to the Nightmare, which is very cute. Okay, so now they get back their Sneaky Snackers. This is a big deal. There's 3 of them in the graveyard. They did not hit a land, fortunately. Okay, well, I guess that just makes things easy, right? Okay. We do have 2 Skoas in the deck. That was certainly the easiest top deck to be able to close out the game. So we take those, I guess. Sure. So where are we at? That's 3-1 with this deck so far. And on to match number 5. Kozilek in the opener. 3 mana, no colorless, but we have the Repurposer, which makes colorless. Yeah, we're not trying to hold on to this Freyleys. We're going to need all the mana we can get because of the Kozilek and the Dread Mask in hand. So we're just going to try to get to those as quick as possible. Repurposer into Repurposer is fine. Certainly not upset by that. We have the Horrific Assault as well to be able to cover an earlier drop by our opponent, which they seemingly don't have. Okay. That said, let's see if we can get them to do anything. Not yet. Not sure what we're playing around by not casting the Path. If they had Hopeender Coatl, then we had the spawn token to sacrifice. So I think maybe it's better to play the Path there, although playing the second Repurposer obviously puts on much more pressure to our opponent to get, like, for them to have to try to do something about what we've got going on. All right. So we have a lot of mana. Okay, we have land for turn. We have another repurposer. 1-2, sacrifice an idiot. Yup. And then end of turn, make another idiot. So we have a giant board, and next turn we get to cast Kozilek. Yeah, we get to cast Kozilek and attack for quite a bit. Okay, opponent with their own nicely sized Writhing Chrysalis and Repurposer here. Very cool. All right, land good. Yeah, that's fine. Mind Rot you. So this is going to be the second time where I wind up putting down exactly Horrific Assault Colossal Dread Mask. If I target myself, yeah. I like not targeting myself here. Like, from my position, just getting 2 cards and putting all this down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Kozilek can eat this Writhing Chrysalis without any doubt. And then we have a bunch of giant bodies thanks to the Kozilek. So yeah, attack with everything. Just get in, make our opponent figure out some blocks. That's fine. They trade with a spawn token and choose to die to triple Repurposer with 6 power. That's weird. Okay. Guess they were off it. To be fair, they went Writhing Chrysalis into Path of Annihilation and got smoked, so I guess they were just completely off it. Or they didn't notice it was 3 repurposers, I guess, is possible. But 4th win. Yippee. It's been a second. Nice to have a 4-win draft again. So let's see how far we can go with this one. This is a pretty okay deck. This is a bad hand, though. This hand needs so much help. There's no red mana, so these Skoas are functionally dead. The Path of Annihilation, I guess, is sort of red mana, but we don't even have enough mana to cast the Path, and even if we did, we don't have anything to do before we cast the Path. This hand sucks. But we're waiting on our opponent. Okay, how'd we do? This hand is okay. We're still a color away from the line breaker. We either need to find a red source or another landscape. Forest was kind of worst possible. I think we want to sandbag the landscape for at least a turn. Okay. Okay, we found the red source, so that's good. So let's get that down. Tapped, we have nothing to do on 2 mana. Kind of wishing we still had the Foul Strike here, since, you know, that Pteramander might murder me, but that's okay. Glimpse is certainly interesting. We take 3, they get 3 spawn. We get to go Line Breaker. I think we attack. Yeah. And then we get to go Path of Annihilation next turn. Line Breaker is +3 then. Alright, second Cranial Ram is scary. I wonder if they're treating their spawns the same way I was with the Dread Mask a moment ago. Like, they're not necessarily for mana, but they're just bodies that the Rams can go onto if once I start blocking, potentially. Alright, Path of Annihilation. Here's some duders. I don't really love this position much. I can, I guess, attack. I can't really double spell this turn. If we attack with a spawn token, what happens? I don't think they're trading the Cranial Ram. I think I am going to wind up trading my Line Breaker, because otherwise I'm just taking too much damage, I think. Sure, take 2. It's got... Oh, no, it doesn't have trample. Never mind. The Line Breaker itself has trample. It doesn't give trample. Alright, so that's adapt, right? That's enough. 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. Alright, that's scary. It's also the turn before I could cast Skoa, which is pretty awkward. And we bottomed the Foul Strike forever ago. So we kind of have to block here, right? And we're still taking 8. That's a 2-turn clock. And they can move the Ram around. Like, yeah, this is not great for me. Without being able to deal with the flyer, I'm just dead. So, yeah, I guess Glimpse. None of that. Yes, it does. Okay. Collective Resistance deals with the flyer, so we're not just dead. We have a land. And we have a... Yeah, we have to kill the flyer. Like, no two ways about it. We 100% have to kill the flyer. And then we can Party Thrasher. Yeah, I think it's Party Thrasher here. Party Thrasher... Maybe... Party Thrasher just digs me deeper. Repurposer blocks the Ram better. Yeah, okay. Oh, well, they said good game, so they might have a burn spell rolled up. Like, if they have a Ghostfire Slice or something rolled up, then, yeah, there's nothing I can do. It's just GG. They keep saying it, so, like, that's... Yeah, okay. Alright. Is that the second time we got Ghostfire Sliced? We got Ghostfire Sliced out of the game in game 1, right? We were at 4 and got sliced. That's statistically weird, right? I don't think it matters, but that's fine. That game, we were struggling to try to turn around that game. We found an out to the flyer, but it had already done a ton of damage, so it is what it is. That game could have gone better, but it wasn't a complete bust. Like, we drew lands, we drew spells, we got to do our thing. Opponent had double Cranial Ram and just a good aggressive start. So cheers, good beats. So 4-2, we're on the back against the wall at this point. So we either win out to try to win a trophy, or we lose and the run's over. But at least we got a net positive run. Considering the slump we've been in, we'll take those net positives. So turn 2, we had the choice of It That Heralds the End or Party Thrasher. I think it's good to get the Party Thrasher down and just start getting the card advantage as early as possible. Oh, I guess card selection. Not really advantage here. I would like the It That Heralds the End, please. Okay, and then in for 1 with the Thrasher, I guess. Sure. My bloom has been withered. Next turn, I don't actually know if we bother using the Party Thrasher because we kind of want to use the Path of Annihilation, I think. Like, we have the 4-drop we want to cast lined up, and then the Party Thrasher only gets better once we have the extra mana, so. Yeah, I think next turn is just decline the Thrasher, land Path of Annihilation, and then go from there. Opponent pops a landscape for Jund colors. Okay, and then a 1/2 Hydra. Huh. A 1/2 Hydra. What are they concerned about me doing that makes them want to get a Hydra down? Unless they have ways to grow the counters on it, maybe? Like, I don't even know. Huh. Not sure I like declining the Thrasher that turn specifically. I mean, I guess we did get to use all of our mana, or all of our lands at least, and double spell. Just get pressure on board. Okay. Alright. Stump Stomp definitely makes combat bad for me this turn. Well, not anymore, but now they just don't attack. Okay, Thrasher would like to discard Forest to find Brood Scale, I guess. Not the most exciting. We can cycle this landscape. Or not. We could have cycled the landscape. Yeah, alright. I might not have realized that, like I said. I forget the landscapes have cycling half the time. It just doesn't come up terribly often. As many drafts as I've done, I think by the end of the season I will have 290 games played in this format or something like that. And I think the number of times that I cycle the landscape is like could be counted on one hand. So it just definitely slips my mind that that's a thing that I'm allowed to do. I think with this sheltering landscape, I could have and probably should have cycled it. Opponent only has one card in hand. Not sure why. Like, if there's a good reason to not try to trade with that Oozewag there. Like, my Repurposer and Brood Scale don't really matter. I guess with the Evolution Witness, it just gives them something that they can get back. Like, just, it is a good trade for them because they just get their Oozewag back again. And then I'm left with a bunch of 0 power creatures or 1 power creature with the Party Thrasher. But if I'm not blocking now, then when am I actually blocking? Okay. So they get the top 3 cards of my library. They got my Kozilek. They can't cast my Kozilek. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, they can't cast my Kozilek. So that's good. That said, we're about to lose our source of card advantage. They're going to get to play that mountain, and then that Kozilek is just, what, exiled forever? Does it go back to my graveyard? Suffice it to say, this turn could have gone better for me. This was not ideal. Blood-Soaked Insight is a real interesting card. All the modal dual-faced cards are worth putting in your deck if you have the ability to cast them at all. But the Blood-Soaked Insight, like, I haven't seen it get to pop off terribly often. But yeah, like that was pretty huge. Getting to take my Kozilek. It's more that it got to take it out of my deck, right? But so yeah, it just is gonna wind up staying in exile forever. So here we did it again. We played the landscape, so that's twice that I think it would have been better to cycle, just find a new card. So that's kind of awkward. Opponent just getting back a landscape. Yep, there's my mountain. At least they're short of the Kozilek. So maybe my opponent cycles their landscape and teaches me a lesson. Like, I guess I can no block again, but that seems not great. If I double block, yeah, they just adapt, trade, and then Wither and Bloom onto the Evolution Witness to get back the Oozewag. But, like, I can't just keep taking the damage forever. Awkward, awkward, awkward. Alright. With the Kozilek gone, what are we drawing to that matters? The Mask, the Dread Mask would be a pretty good draw. Yep, there's the Wither and Bloom. Get back the Oozewag, as mentioned a moment ago. At least they can't cast it right away. Yeah, we have colorless mana because we have the spawns. I don't think it really matters. Yeah. All right, Sundering Eruption would be great if we had a whole bunch of power worth of stuff to attack with. We don't need it to be a land, so might as well hang on to it. We take 6 this turn, though. Oh. Okay. What did they get? Repurposer, Foul Strike, question mark. Repurposer, Foul Strike, and Eruption. Yeah. Well, that could have been worse. It's not good, but it could have been worse. No reason to block 1 damage by throwing away a spawn. And I think I should have chumped the Witness. In my brain, it already has Trample because of the Oozewag. But obviously that's not true. So I think chumping the Witness there was ultimately correct. So we should be at 15. Because later on it's going to be impossible to block the Witness in any meaningful way once the Oozewag comes back down. Alright, Disciple says another, so it doesn't do anything here. It's probably the worst 6-mana top deck, right? Like, we're hoping to draw something big, and we do, but it's not because we don't have any power in play. Super awkward. If we draw... Oh. That's a... Wow. Sure. Great. Yeah. Alright, that game's over. Because they're going to get the Disciple out of my hand, no matter what. And then they can sacrifice either the Witness to draw 5, one of the Crabominations, my Repurposer just to get a little mini draw 3. Yeah, that's a tough beat, but okay. Fair enough. Good beats, opponent. That game was what it was. So yeah, that a 4-3 with that draft. This deck was okay, not great. We certainly had the top end with the Kozilek, being able to move the Dread Mask around all of the various tokens that we had. Only one Writhing Chrysalis, but we got it super late in the pack. Path of Annihilation proved itself to be an all-star like it usually does. Linebreaker was very good. And you know what card actually impressed me more than it ever has was the Foul Strike. The Foul Strike just being able to take down flyers a couple times, the Reinforce coming in handy at least once. Foul Strike was just like randomly good in a bunch of spots that league. And it just... That card does not usually impress me, and in this draft in particular, it happened to be good every time we saw it, I think, right? Except maybe for once, but... Yeah. Anyway, interesting. This was an okay draft with an okay result, so everything, makes sense in my head. Would have been nice to get to play that first game, like draw a spell ever. I think with the density of threats in the deck, it was just bad luck, and that's just going to happen sometimes. But anyway, thanks for joining me. We'll see you in draft number 14 coming up soon.